My name is Femi Osofisan. I'm from Nigeria. The name is Yoruba, one of the large ethnic groups from Nigeria, which is the same as Wole Soyinka's. So I'm a professor at the university. I'm now retired, but also a dramatist, playwright, theater director, actor, everything, because in our context at home, you have to do a bit of everything, and that's what we try to teach at the university in our department. Everybody being a kind of versatile theater artist, be able to do everything. You can design costumes, design the sets, apart from acting and dancing and so on, you know. So, I guess this is why I was invited here, because of my long experience in the theater. I've been doing this for over 30 years. You know.
When were you infected with theater? I know it's a large part of European culture anyway, but you know the step to make theater for a living.
Well, the outside influence, you know, was very critical in this, because we, as you said, Yoruba society is rich in dramatic presentations, all kinds of festivals, rituals, and so on. And then we went to school. The schools in Nigeria were started by the missionaries, by the British missionaries. And of course, the syllabus was more or less a colonial one, you know. So we were taught, you know, at first we didn't even know that what we were doing in our own local communities was theater, because we were taught that that's not theater. Theater was Shakespeare, Bernard Shaw, Racine, and all. This is written anyway. It has to be written text based theater, you know. And of course, I mean, you don't expect colonial people to teach you the kind of theater that will make you revolt against their power. So we were taught that theater, arts, literature is completely divorced from political life, from real life. Something you learned in schools, and it's mainly for entertainment and things like that, you know. So, and this is what we believed. Right through the universities, when I was studying, you know, I enjoyed drama, even though I wasn't studying drama. But you know, I took part in plays. But it was mainly to amuse ourselves, to enjoy ourselves, you know. But then I went for postgraduate studies in France, you see, in those early 70s, you know, when, you know, a lot of student agitation and so on was on. You know. This had started in Dakar. When I was in Dakar, you know, there was big students, some in which I was very much involved. You know. So by the time I got to Paris anyway, theater was very much a part of the political life, you know, particularly not the orthodox theater, but the experimental theaters going on, you know, at the Cartoucherie and so on, you know. So I came to see that, in fact, theater could have a more serious purpose, you know, that it could be used, you know, for social change, for correcting things and so on, you know. And you know, in our context, developing country and so on, you know, people who can talk, who can bring out the truth, who can, you know, are very much needed. You know, it's not that entertainment is not good. In fact, theater has to entertain to be theater at all. You know. But entertainment is not the end. You know, entertainment should be used also for other ends, and this is where we then began to look at our own traditional theaters. You know, at narratives, you know, performance, and so on. And you'll find that, in fact, in our tradition, that's what's always been performance for enlightenment, for teaching values, for inculcating certain practices and so on. So that it was not true that theater was not political. It just depends on whose politics, which politics you are playing. You know. So, and for us, I mean, for that generation of my contemporaries, you know, most urgent work was development of the country. You know. Independence had not brought much gains because we were left with the wrong leadership. You know. So we had to teach people, you know, what to do, give information, bring them, you know, or show them what alternatives existed elsewhere. And you'll find that you can do this very well with the theater because it has an immediate impact on the audience. You know, it's not like the theater in the West. Sometimes I look at the theater here, where the audience is so quiet, so until the end of the performance, then you have, you know. With us, the audience is very much involved, very much alive. As you're speaking, they're responding, you know. So you can have much impact on the audience. Yeah. And so, you know, most of my work has been done with this view to help my society out of its underdevelopment, you know, and to, you know, help them cope with crisis and so on. Of course, then we had military regime for some 30 years, and so theater was always a dangerous activity, and you had to learn how to do this, you know. Which is, you know, various, what I call a guerrilla theater, more or less, you know, various ways of insurrection that will help you, keep you from being smashed, but at the same time, you are able to tell the truth that you want to tell, to expose the corruption that you want to issue and so on. So this has been my work throughout, you know. Of course, the military regime ended, and we have what we call democracy. But we've all found that democracy is not what not the type of democracy we are practicing. So it means that the struggle has not ended. I mean, we've got to continue. You know. As I said, you use a metaphor. And also you use a foreign play. So everybody thinks or at least the authorities think that this has nothing to do with Nigeria. But, you know, by your interpretation, you interpret it within the context of that, of your country. So that's the kind of thing. You know, Antigone, for instance, is it's a play that's been done many times, you know, because it dramatizes that very issue about individual freedom and state law. You know, we have to have laws, yes, and we have to have people who, you know, exercise those laws. You know, but then what happens when those laws go against your conscience? What goes, particularly when those laws violate what you think should be the human rights? You know, because laws are generalized. You know, you can't make a law for each situation and so on. So what happens? Do you submit and just say, well, it's the law, and turn your eyes away when you know that this is wrong, it is not right? So what do? So Antigone helps us to dramatize that. So in very many different situations, many different countries, that story has been adapted again and again. You know. So it seemed fitting in our own case at a particular time when we were faced with the military regime. You know, this was a particular government that had been in place for 8 years, you know, but kept itself in place by constantly promising to hold elections, to go away, so, and so, and yet I didn't want to go. Finally, it organized some elections, and just as the results were being announced, and there was a winner going to be pronounced, they canceled those elections. So a lot of violence began on the streets and so on. So I was invited to Atlanta at the time to come and do a play. And I was thinking of this Antigone. Even to get onto the airport was quite a drama in itself, because burning streets, people were in real revolt. And so, conceptualizing this play, came to that within that context of military rule, military regime, military resistance against military. So that's in the context in which I did that particular play. The kind of plays we do in Nigeria have to be substantially modified when you take them out, particularly out of a black African context. We do go and do a play in Europe or in America, you're dealing with actors who are not like our own actors. Usually you say actor in Nigeria, as I said, the actor is supposed to be multi-talented. Actor, you assume already that he's a dancer, he's a singer, and not just acting, just delivering speeches, but that's not the same thing here. You say an actor, and I found that unless I'm present when the audition is being done, then you end up with problems. Because if the audition is done by somebody else, he's thinking of how to deliver the lines and so on, but not thinking of the other things that go along with it, the gestures and so on. So that, and then to get the right music you want, it's always a problem. You need a certain type of drum, certain type of wind or instrument. You need certain tonalities which you don't find in the basic Western orchestra. So all that means that you have to do it again. I was lucky in Atlanta because I just by coincidence we discovered the drummer who had been working with me before many years before was now living there. So we could bring him. But then you don't have time to teach the dances. So besides, I found that even in terms of the subject matter, okay, I was concerned about the issue of democracy and against a military government. Atlanta at the time was preparing for the Olympic Games. So, that's what was basic in their minds. And then Emory, performing at Emory campus, which is a high-brow, in a city that is predominantly black, where you can't avoid the racial questions again. So it's not.